out there. Welcome to Pcgtv Sports Time with Jerome. My name is Jerome Ochri. We are here again to have conversations on Ghana football. And today we are going women's football. A lot has been happening in the women's football arena, from the Middle League, what they call Middle League, qualification to the Women's League proper, to the FA Cup and the Women's League itself. So many things have been transpiring in that arena. We're going to take some time and look at what exactly has been taking place there. And someone in the studio who knows it all when it comes to women's football in Ghana and across the continent. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we take the scripture for the day and the show will continue. Welcome back. As I was telling you, today we are discussing women's football. But before we go into the discussion itself, let's take the scripture for today. And I take you to Acts chapter 2, verses 42, one of my favorite verses. And it says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. So the admonition to us is to continuing fellowshipping with others and sharing everything we have, including food. Yes, if you have food, give unto your brother. And indeed, share in prayer. Pray as Christians, wherever you find yourselves. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and the show continues. Welcome back. So, as I have been saying, today we are discussing women's football, and so much has been going on there. And we want to find out exactly what. In the next few minutes, we'll be looking at all the things that have happened and see if it's anything to write home about or something encouraging. I believe it's encouraging. I'm sure maybe my guest will agree with me that, yes, it's been positive inside women's football in Ghana. And here is someone who, when it comes to the women's game, I'm sure she knows more than I do. I was telling her off air that she knows sports, she knows football. But when it comes to women and their game, I'm not sure I come anywhere close because she is into it. And I'm talking about Abigail Sena Sosu, who is a lead commentator at Sporty FM. You know, so much sports. So I almost got that wrong, but yeah. Sporty FM, right?
Yes, please.
And she's one of the broadcast journalists there. She's a lead commentator as well. And I will start on that note because I know that you have been talking about the women's game all throughout the season.
Yeah.
Exactly what has been happening there before we go into the specifics.
Well, I think that there's been another interesting season where, by the kind courtesy of Malta Guinness, they have been of tremendous help to this team, then continuing on with their sponsorship. And we've had one of the seasons where it was very clear that in the southern zone, the competition among the clubs went a notch higher, especially for those who want to topple and break that dominance when it comes to Hazakes and Ampim Dakwa. So down south, at the end of the day, Please Ladies tried and then took advantage of the fact that Gaffer, who always spewed fear and made people quiver whenever he's on the touchline, had to take a leave of his team. And Yusuf Bazigi left Hazakes Ladies. Yeah. And then I think a lot of the clubs got comfortable and knew that, okay, now we can equally fight because
the monster is gone.
He is gone. And even for him, and you'd speak to him, it was very difficult for him. He couldn't even tell the ladies he was leaving until he had left the country because he knew that if he had had that discussion with the girls, it would be difficult for him to go. So they struggled. I'm sure they didn't really expect it, given that he didn't tell anyone. So they struggled a little before they got on top and then they went down again. This is the season where I'm sure Please Ladies also had their strategies right. Tabasu knew that coming close to a final, he would fancy to go there again. Last season, he was in the final of the FA Cup, and unfortunately, he lost that one to I don't know if we call them their friends, but to army ladies, the security services when they meet is something else. So I'm sure when he felt how it is to be in the final, he yearned for it, went back, did his homework well, and no matter the obstacles they faced, they just lost the game out of the 18 they played, and then drew as many at 6, and that was enough for them to be able to hold into the top spot and then be able to get into the final. So it was one of the seasons where, unfortunately, we didn't have that Hazakets Ampim Dakwa emerging as champions of both zones. For Ampim Dakwa, it was a little easier at the time because Sela Nyamiche was literally the tallest person, or let me say that standard person in that dreams side that always gave them that competition, and then she had to leave the country. So they also soldiered on. At a point in time, Jordan Adako had to step aside, but that was not serious because for Steven Sarko there, it was almost like Jordan Adako in a different body because he has been there with them from the beginning. So it was like he was just continuing from where Joe Adakwa left off. So they were able to hold their own even without Adakwa and still maintain that dominance in the northern zone. And also, this is a season where we had to play a relegation playoff.
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
was it the first time,
No,
or is it the first time we are seeing such a thing?
this is the third time it's happening in the
Third time.
women's game.
Oh, okay.
The women's game.
see.
But it's been a very long time we have experienced
Okay.
something like that. But over the years,
What accounted for the, if I can put it this way, layoff?
for that playoffs, it means that two clubs that could be relegated were on the same point, and head to head they were still at par. So they had to have a playoff. Yes, and then one would have to be relegated. And I had the opportunity to band commentary on that game between Halifax Queens and then Faith Ladies. It was really painful to see how Faith Ladies lost, I should say, because Halifax ended up winning the game with 10 ladies. They were red carded.
Wow.
So it was just fate. They had to just go through.
I like that.
So they just had to go through.
I mean, before we go into the specifics, you made mention of Malta Guineas, and I mean, it's becoming like now, if you want to talk about women's football in Ghana, you can't do it without the mention of Malta Guineas. How has the relationship between the women's game and Malta Guineas been like? I mean, for you as a commentator or as a close observer of the game there?
The good thing, however, too, is the marketing manager at the time that started the negotiations or that brought that deal on board happened to be a mate from secondary school.
Oh, I see.
The conversations at the back, at least I know what goes in there and what reason they came in there. And for them, it was not just about sponsoring the game. They have a lot of things in mind, if I can say, from what she always talks about. They are looking at maybe in future helping the ladies build themselves away from football. So it was more like a social responsibility, something for them than
sponsorship.
Just sponsorship. They've really put themselves in it since 2022, and it's looking good. And I like how they also come on board when we have the FA Cup final. They are not sponsors, but they try as much as possible to box the two finals together and continue to support it. For me, I've always said that we are begging them, then they should just come and take it, so that we know that they are the ones running, helping the women's game. So
maybe the responsibility of being a sponsor is bigger than just being a partner.
Yes, I really get it. Oh, they are really trying, and the unfortunate thing is she has moved from there to a different department in the same company, but still she's always available to be able to help. So I feel that partnership came at a very good time. And I would also want to add that leadership of the FA, I mean, there are some people we have known that have loved women's football. And I think that under this leadership, it has been so glaring. Like the General Secretary, for instance, Prosper Sinadu has been someone who has advocated for women's football for a very long time, even before getting into this position. So I think some of the proactiveness we see from that end when it comes to women's game has really helped.
We may not agree with the FA on everything they have done.
Yes.
But I think, I mean, from where I sit, I think that the women's game has received some good attention that is putting it where it should be. Sure. I mean, do you share the same opinion?
I do. That is why I go on TV, mention some names, because whenever if it's playoffs and game match days or even the Women's Super Cup, you see some of these people present, they
Okay.
all want to be on board. And I think that the institution of the competitions department, away from everyday activity as the FA to ourselves, because they look like the forefront, or they are the people that are really holding on to it. So you get some of the things you would want to see on competition or match days. And maybe because I get to run a lot of commentary and work
Okay.
with them on the side, I see some of the things they do, and it's been impressive to see how they give us that attention as well. We are not getting everything they give to the men, but
Right.
I think
No,
it's okay.
yeah,
It's
it's
okay.
okay. You
It's
know,
okay.
this is just the beginning, and it's the first part of the show. And if you listen to how Abigail is rattling, you should know that there's so much in her to share. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll go to the second part of the show. Okay, welcome back. And it's women's football we are talking about here with Abigail Sinas, also a lead commentator when it comes to the Women's League and everything women's football in Ghana. Abigail, I don't know whether we should call it from the ascending or descending order. So you covered the Women's Middle League.
Yes, please.
So let's start from there, and maybe you can rise to the FA Cup and then go into the league, and then perhaps close the show. The concept of the middle league, has it always been there?
It is to get two from the southern zone and the northern zone to replace the two that is relegated from
Relegated
the
side, okay.
Premier League.
So how many teams were in these competition? I mean, in this competition, I'm
Okay,
talking
so
about.
in the southern zone, we had 6 teams that were drawn from 5 regions that make up the southern
I
zone.
see.
And so for Greater Accra, because it's very big and we have a lot
Yeah.
of clubs, they had Zone A and Zone B. So they brought 2 reps.
Okay.
And Zone A, it was Oaks FC that qualified, and then Zone B had Samba Ladies.
Okay.
So they also, these two were from
Oaks being the female team of Hearts of
Hearts
Oak.
of Oak, yes.
Okay.
Please.
Coached by the former referee, former footballer, former
Yeah.
coach of the
Now she's
Black
the
Queens.
instructor at CAF.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a rise.
Yeah.
Okay. And which of the teams qualified?
Summertex from the west, and so
Oh,
yeah, so
interesting.
they've expanded the women's game. Now
No
we're going to
wonder.
Summer Boy.
No wonder.
So they also qualified, but
Okay.
unfortunately, Root Sisters from Eastern Region could not qualify.
I did the reggae girls.
Yes, yes.
You know, I'm asking this because I heard somebody speak about them, and the person was like, "These girls are reggae girls." And I'm like, why are they called reggae girls?
Maybe because the owner
It's a Rastafarian.
is a Rastafarian,
Uh-huh.
came from Jamaica,
Oh, okay.
and he also didn't start as somebody who wants to nurture talent and sell. He also felt like more like
A
an
contribution
NGO,
to.
something to be contribution
Yeah,
to the
okay.
people in the Eastern region, for the ladies to have their identity and embrace it, as he will put it, because he
Okay.
says he doesn't use names like Abigail Gideon. He likes to use their local names. So he was just trying to let the ladies embrace themselves, and it just so happened that they have the talent. So
Okay, so we
got into that.
have
We had Sisamba,
Mhm.
Oaks FC, Samatex ladies, Root Sisters, Anglo ladies, and ACM Socrates. So it
ACM
was
Socrates.
from the Central
Wow.
region, Volta region, Eastern region, and then Western region, then 2 from the Greater Accra region.
Do I get the impression that the women's game is therefore is it growing or spreading across the towns? Because I mean, from what I have known from the past, it's always been concentrated, or the focus has been in Greater Accra and Ashanti.
Yeah.
But it looks like now it is spreading across the regions of the country.
I think that we've gotten to the point where we are embracing the expansion of the game, and also the talent that is abounding, not just in the men's division, because we've gotten to a point where we need to sell our female players to the Spanish Women's League, and so I'm sure a lot of people have sat back and realized that, okay, you will not get that much money or almost immediately like you would get with the men, but there's a certain joy when you know you are taking care.
But even with the men, how many of them are traveling outside
and
to Spain?
also because of that ruling from CAF, or that I don't know how to say, but it was that mandatory part from CAF, that if you are a club that will qualify for any of that competition, you have to have the women's team. It got some of the clubs to be affiliated, like Dreams FC
Okay.
picking up Dreams, and people thought it was for them and all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
And for Oaks FC, when you listen to Mesitego, it looks like a business organogram. And that is what they want to do, and where they is part of where they want to get to. And I didn't doubt it because I picked the same from Samatex. So you realize that the two sides that are managed well with a business organogram had everything on point. And I'm sorry I have to say this on television,
on TV, yeah?
But even with their organization, the two looked organized.
You see?
So even if you see them, it was so obvious that they could pull up a surprise, and there's
this thing in our football that we haven't paid attention to, but it's I don't know whether they call it a no-brainer or what. It's not anything for anybody to even argue about that.
Yeah.
There is a direct correlation between being organized off the field and what you do on the pitch.
Yes.
Once you are organized off the field, there's a high tendency that with time we will see that organization on the field of
because
play.
They treated it as one of their business projects they have to embark on.
Okay.
And so leadership were always present.
I see.
So they felt that, okay, you have been assigned to go and execute this. Go and execute it in the name of Samatex. Go and execute it in the name of Hardbook, not as just like a subsidiary or just something away from the company. And so I feel that with what they showed, that professionalism match. I'm not saying the other clubs are not professionals, but you realize that they have a different handle, or let me say, a different way that things are done with them. So it was business from day one, and they just had to get through.
So these are teams representing the southern
for the
zone.
southern zone.
And the north.
The same thing happened in the north.
Oh, I see.
And one of your former players is a coach.
Oh, who is?
Yaya Mohammed.
Interesting.
He was handling Candy Soccer Academy, but unfortunately
they couldn't qualify.
They couldn't qualify. They came third. So Pelpia also qualified together with Ashtown. So
Ashtown from Ashanti.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so now what it means is that next season in the Women's League, we're going to have these 4 teams play in the south and north.
In the north. So in
they're going to be part of the teams.
Yes, in the south, Berry Ladies and Fake Ladies were relegated.
Ooh.
So Oaks FC and Samatex will take their place.
Okay. And in the north?
And in the north, Soccer Intellectuals and Soon Shining were relegated.
I see.
So these two also go and take their place.
I like the fact that Oaks are making that progress, but I'm not happy.
Are you sure?
No, yeah. I mean, I like it because see,
you like it, but I'm not happy.
In the totality of it, it is going to grow Ghana football or Ghana soccer. But I'm not happy that Kotoko doesn't.
So I think that is a hard time. Kotoko leadership sat down again with Madam Abibata and see what you can do with Fabulous Ladies. Because if there's a club with that name, I really don't see why you would want to go and get a different club.
Maybe you set up Porcupine Ladies.
Fabulous Ladies sits well. So maybe you should get closer if she still wants to be. Let me
take your thoughts on this. What do you think is a challenge? I mean, for you as a women's football insider, what has been the struggle? I think on the Kotoko side, I have an idea why, but I'm not the one answering questions here.
And also on the Fabulous Ladies angle, I also have a little information.
What is the challenge? What do you think is the challenge, or how should it be handled such that we will see Asante Kotoko SC and then Fabulous Ladies as one?
I think that leadership of Kotoko should have a sit down with Madam Abibata, because from afar it is looking like she's very attached to the club. That is what she believes she has built. So it will be difficult to
take it away from her.
Go. Yes. So you can have that agreement. If you are going to make her the club president, the patron or something, just that she still feel attached to it, and then you at least run it like professionally, but she would still be attached to it, and then have her input, at least get something from sales. It's just about agreement. But if we say we are going to take it away from her, it will be very difficult.
Because I know,
I know people went in even wanting to buy, and she didn't sell it.
No, you can't take it away from her. I've spoken with her so many years ago. I think about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and this is more like her
A
baby.
legacy. She feel
It's
that
her
it is
baby.
her.
Yes.
So when you take it away from her, it will
Everything
be
she has
difficult.
stood for in football,
Yeah, stems from that.
it's from that. So you
Yeah.
cannot just wake up one day and say you are taking it up. But I side with you that the initiative must come from Kotoko.
Yeah.
Maybe when Kotoko wins the Champions League, the Ghana League one day and they go to the Champions League.
Because I would lie. I really like the way you are handling the junior team with the guys. It's beautiful. At least from what you put out on social media for us to see how they are treated. You know, they are picked up from their houses. It's very nice.
I am
It's very very nice.
skeptical
So
because
if they pick that
I have seen
it will be good.
I have seen how Kotoko youth teams have been run in the past, and look, it always starts well, but how it ends is another
Oh,
thing.
this time I'm sure they'll mean business
We'll
because
see.
some of the former players are in there. Emerson Point is there, so maybe this time they mean business to at least
I hope
get
so.
things done right. But it looks good, and if they'll add a female team, they'll complete because I know definitely now that Oaks FC has qualified, Kotoko is already thinking about it.
Yeah, because
definitely it will happen.
It shouldn't be that Kotoko is without the women's team.
Yeah.
I mean, how? Anyway, we'll go for a break. When we come back in the last leg of the show, we will focus on the Women's FA Cup and the Women's League. Welcome back. You know, Abigail knows her subject so much that time is flying. I wish we had more time to talk about women's football. But then, yes, the last few minutes of the show, we'll look at the Women's Premier League. I almost said Ghana Premier League. Yeah, the Women's Premier League and the Women's FA Cup. Which of the two would you say was exciting?
I would say the FA Cup.
Why?
That's our mantra. So that is where you get the big guns also being shot down.
Okay.
The Division 1 sides always wanting to rub shoulders to show that they
I think it's the nature of all knockout competitions.
Yes.
I don't know where that thing came from.
They also want to showcase what they
Because
have.
all over the world, there are always upsets in knockout competitions.
Yeah. And so you get Rue Sisters getting into the last four of the FA Cup.
Incredible. Meanwhile, they couldn't make it.
That is the thing.
Okay.
So and you also get Faith Ladies knocking out Hazakis.
Wow.
Meanwhile,
in the league, it's a different story.
Left side, center, everywhere.
So who won the FA Cup?
Faith Ladies eventually. They
Okay.
survived. They got through the season without surviving the league, but at least got something to show their fans and faithful from Dansoman. So,
so they were relegated.
Yes, but
yet
went
won
on
the
to
FA
win
Cup.
the FA Cup.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what makes knockout competitions exciting. I mean, regardless of your form elsewhere, if you take to it, you can get to the final.
I'm sure they wish if they could swap that for
maybe.
stay in the Premier League. They're prepared.
Okay.
But
so they won the FA Cup, and then the league was won by Police
Ladies went on to
was that a surprise?
With the year under review, I'll say yes.
What makes it surprising?
I didn't see Please Ladies taking over the Southern Zone from the beginning of the season, actually. But when I also had that confirmation that Bazigi was not around, I knew it was going to be a little difficult from the start. But I thought the girls would just get into it because I watched them play the Super Cup. That is like a preseason tournament. And they looked good. They were in shape, but I'm sure that shock took long for them to recover, and it was a little too late. So I was surprised that dominance was broken, but not by a bad side as well, but a side that had their plans and their house in order, ready to compete, win, and they've been thinking about Africa even before the season ended. So clearly, you know that it is something they have really sat down to go through. And
let me take your thoughts on this. So I didn't come to the stadium to watch the game, but later on I saw videos from that game, the
Women's Football Festival.
the game that crowned Police Ladies as champions, and I saw the IGP there. I saw top police officers. I mean, all the police chiefs in Ghana were at the stadium. Tell me, is it the case that the Police Ladies team are so well organized, and that was a contributory factor to their triumph?
I think that is one thing that is synonymous with all of the security services.
Okay, they are organized.
Very organized. And what you saw is no news. Every other time they've gotten to the final at the FA Cup last year. It was the same representation,
Oh,
just
I
that they
see.
didn't win. That's how we didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
And the
I don't know
military,
that.
the military also,
The IGP was there.
yes.
Oh, then
But because they didn't win, that's why we didn't see a lot of
interesting.
videos and
Okay,
pictures of
okay,
them.
I see.
But the military last year also had their top hierarchy there.
Yeah, the military chiefs were there.
Yes, and then it was more of a competition between themselves. Their band and then the police band, but the military took over the whole stadium and all of that.
Okay.
And there's one thing I've always admired about the security services: when they pick up these ladies, they give them a future. I can say, because some of them end up enrolling them into their security services. And, also,
and there was the news that the police is enlisting
all the civilians.
all this, and that for me is incredible, because you see, it's not just football.
Yeah.
Now you have, let me say, a more sustainable employment, because I mean, football, anything can happen.
Hitherto it comes, but it doesn't come immediately and on a silver platter like
like
that.
this. This one is like,
when you are playing with army, prisons, immigrations, you know that at least if there's a listen and you are interested, you'll be given a looking first. Come on, because you're a part of their team. And even with military, I'm even told that sometimes it is a reason you get into their team as well. They pick people with every work or every skill. So they don't really have any problem with that. I've always loved the security services and how they have handled themselves.
That actually should be it. I mean, when we were growing up, we saw a lot of the security agencies having teams. There was the security games, security services games. Today we don't see them. So I mean, let's as we wrap up, looking into the crystal ball, where do you see women's football in Ghana?
Jerome, I am very positive.
Okay.
Very, very positive, at least in the last 4 years.
Is it because we have seen the women's game transit from the point where when women are playing, it's 10-0 and 6-0 and 11-0, but today it's not. Today you can watch a grueling women's football and it will end goalless.
I think maybe from the point that we've accepted that the role of the woman does not end in the kitchen.
Of course.
And she can build a life with football as well. And so we are paying attention and trying to give it that needed support. It is not coming immediately. It's gradual. But even with that, the ladies are showing positive signs, responding so well and so natural of women. When you give us that attention or that pumping, sometimes you don't even have to do anything, just show up.
Yeah.
And I think that it has gone a long way to further encourage these girls that, come on, at the end of the day, if I put in my best, somebody is looking, somebody will award me. Now we have award programs in this country that has female players being featured in there and put up for awards. Christiana Shaku was nominated for Ghana Football Awards that is coming up recently, and is a big morale booster for that young lady with Root Sisters. She's been going through the mill in time past from U15 to U17, and she's doing good. So if some of these things come, her other colleagues will also know that, okay, if we all put in that effort, now we are being recognized. And because we are paying attention, the world is also paying attention to our talents.
The women's football club owners, I mean, if you take out the security services, are doing a lot of sacrificial work. What do you think the state, for instance, can do? Because I remember during the COVID period, government gave some loans, or was it some money to the women's football teams? What more can be done to support the sacrifices that the club owners there are doing? I mean,
a lot more support, a lot more support. That is what they need. And I'm happy that you've identified that some of these people are doing everything out of their pockets. For Nana Posujabo, greetings. Ampem Dakwa. He's housing the girls in his own house. Taking care of them. And so one person, God forbid, if something happens to him and he can't work apart from being a chief, what happens to these ladies? And he has Fosu Royals. That's another team who are in the Premier League as well.
Oh, I see.
So one person, if we are not going in there to at least, even if not to give the money to him, if we can find ways of even providing some of incentives to these ladies to be able to help themselves, it will be good. And I think that I would really congratulate these individuals that are doing these jobs. It's not easy. If you get to live with these ladies, even on just friendship basis, and they are talking to you and they are telling you their needs, it's not easy.
I know.
It's not easy at all.
It's not, because we live with women and we know the kind of struggles they go through within the society we find ourselves. Look, time won't allow us to continue this conversation. And when you sit with Abigail, there's so much in her when it comes to the game of women's football. And unfortunately, we can't exhaust every aspect of the conversation. But then we'll look for some other time and bring her into the studio. Abigail, thank you for coming to Pcgtv,
Thank you.
where we say, in thy light, there's light. Goodbye.